And just moving on to the Leinster final, it finished Galway 18 points, Kilkenny 18 points. Tommy Walsh spoke with Moran Trassa and Calig after the game last week, and here's what he had to say.
Will we see more of the same next weekend, or do you think change of venue, change of style of play?
No, I'd say it'll be similar enough. The only thing that I'd say will come is what our Galway will come, and there will be more, I'd say, up to the aggression levels, up to the, I suppose, in your face type of hurling that there were last year, where they would absolutely go to the ends of the earth to win a ball. I thought, if you go through their forward line, the likes of, you have Conor Whelan, who is, really at the flow of the game in the first half, probably kind of tailed off a little bit. Conor Cooney was that bit quiet, and Joseph Cooney and Joe Canning, and even the likes of Mannion and these boys, and Niall Burke, they were coming in with points, but it was kind of just coming in and out with points here and there. And I think it was their pure ability to score and their wonderful hurling ability is what dragged them through that game today, because I think Kilkenny were definitely up to the speed and the intensity of the game much faster.
What was your read on that Leinster final? Because everyone went into it assuming that Galway were going to win, especially after how they dismissed Kilkenny in Salt Hill earlier in the year. Yeah,
to be honest, I think you have to give massive credit to Kilkenny and the way they played. I just thought that both defences, but particularly Kilkenny's defence, were brilliant, and they snuffed out the main threats from Galway had. I thought Pádraig Walsh and Kenny Buckley, went to 50-50 balls that went in. There was only going to be one winner last Sunday, and they really set the tone. And I think the rest of the younger lads followed suit, and you can never write Kilkenny off. You saw what they did to us, they did it to Wexford. When they were 3 points down with 5 minutes to go, or into injury time, you thought, Galway will close this out. But then again, they found a way, and they're just so composed in the last few minutes, and they have that ability just to finish out games.
Yeah, but why do they have it? Is it because they have a player like TJ Reid, and even Richie Hogan came on and set up one of those scores?
I think you have to look at experience. They have the experienced players, and at the end of the day, in the last few minutes, it was TJ Reid who got that point, and Richie Hogan who gave that ball across to end the mercy. I think experience of being in that position over and over again, that helps you when it comes down to the last few minutes. And it's just, I think, belief that obviously you have to give Brian Cody massive credit. Okay, there's a lot of different players in the team, but they still have that same attitude of finishing out games, and I think you have to give Brian Cody massive credit for that.
Where are their physicality levels now compared with a couple of years ago? Because there is that turnover of players, and probably isn't the same 6'4" guys in every position.
They still have some very strong physical players like Walter Walsh and TJ Reid, but I suppose the younger fellas aren't quite at that level yet. They're still brilliant players, and in terms of aggression levels, their work rate is brilliant. I don't think Brian Cody would pick them if they didn't have that, but they just probably don't have that physique yet, which they probably will get in 2 or 3 years.
I think there was a lot of focus on the spine of the Galway team. So obviously Daithí Burke, and he was excellent again. Now Wally Walsh, I thought, did okay at the same time. Centre back Gearóid McInerney, who's been much celebrated, I thought he was very quiet, struggled on TJ Reid at times. Davy Burke had spoke of the Kilkenny's fear of Galway coming into it, probably had his quietest game other than maybe the All-Ireland semi-final against Tip last year. Joe Canning wasn't on fire, and Conor Whelan was eventually taken off, even though he scored a few. Whereas if you look at Kilkenny's spine, Pádraig Walsh went to town, Cillian Buckley got man of the match, James Maher should have got man of the match as far as I'm concerned. TJ Reid was great at centre forward. So it ended up that Kilkenny went after the very thing that Galway were supposed to be so good, where they were supposed to be so good.
Yeah, I know, Cillian Buckley and Pádraig Walsh, just right from the start, any ball that went in there, they just dominated every ball, and I think they really set the tone to the rest of the lads. I thought TJ Reid really had probably his best game all year so far, and Walter Walsh, I know people are going on about Daithí Burke, how good he was, but I think Walter Walsh still, when it came down to it in the last few minutes, got some critical scores. I think a big thing as well was how they managed, especially in the first half, to quieten Pádraig Mannion. Pádraig Mannion has been a massive player for them, and in my opinion probably their best player and most consistent player all year. And in that first half, I think when Kilkenny went top, you saw Pádraig Mannion probably wasn't as influential as he has been. Then in the second half, he really came into it, and it sort of got Galway ticking and got Galway playing a bit better.
I think there was an element of caveman tactics. I mean, again, we'll come on to the Munster versus Leinster debate later on, but I felt that it was just long ball after long ball after long ball throughout this game. It was a backs game, and if you're playing wing back, which you do play, you want static move. You don't want movement, and you want high ball coming 50-50 so you can attack from behind. Surely that's why the backs were on top.
Yeah, but I think you have to give the forwards massive credit for that. The forwards from both sides, from particularly Kilkenny, they put the Galway backs under so much pressure when they were coming out with the ball, that they didn't have that extra second to look up and give that perfect pass, or give that maybe 60-40 pass. So like the pressure that the Kilkenny forwards put on Galway, I think had a massive influence in terms of the ball that went into the Galway forwards.
Okay, well look, I thought an interesting matchup was TJ Reid against Grode McInerney, and we have a couple of images coming up here. But first of all, you'd imagine that the biggest thing that Micheál Donoghue will be looking at this week, as probably ye did with Pat Gilroy this year, is how do you stop TJ Reid? Ye kept him very quiet, or Owen O'Donnell did, plus he was playing as a spare man back there. If you're the Galway manager, how do you look to keep him quiet this week?
It's very difficult to keep him quiet. For me personally, I think you nearly need to man mark him, because I think one of the points that he got last week is a classic example. And Conor Fogarty just gave him a 2 or 3 yard hand pass, and he just put it straight over the bar. Whereas if you're playing a centre back role and you're marking TJ Reid, like you're obviously in your head you're trying to mind the full back line as well. But like TJ Reid, they know he's the go-to man, so if he's in any way space, they just give him the ball. Whereas if it was another person, they probably might take the shot themselves. So I just think like TJ Reid, he has to be followed everywhere, because 9 times out of 10 when he gets the ball, something happens or a score comes from it. Like, so I would probably man mark him.
Have you had to mark him?
I marked him in the league last year, and yeah, it's tough. Like he's so physically strong, especially in the air, that's his biggest strength. But then like his work rate off the ball is unbelievable as well. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Like when you have the ball, he'd be making 10-15 yards and putting you under pressure, so he was very difficult to mark.
I think every week when you go out and play a match and you're analysing for the week ahead, you think, what can we improve on last week? And one thing that I noticed from watching TJ Reid against Grode McInerney was the high ball, and I felt that Grode McInerney was getting himself caught on the wrong side a number of times. And what I mean by that, for those who aren't watching the pictures that we're putting on screen, is that if I'm going for a high ball, and I'm not going to be able to hold you off, but if I was going to, I'd want to have you at my left side, your body, and put my hand out to the right where I can catch it uncontested. But we have a couple of images showing that Grode McInerney was getting himself caught on the wrong side, so his arm was in the middle where it can be interfered with as TJ's gone up with the ball. How does he adjust that?
I think the big thing is just to make sure you stand on his catching hand. Like the worst thing you can do probably is to get caught underneath it, because you're basically just a sitting duck. TJ is probably just going to put a small bit of pressure on you to stop you from jumping, and he's just going to catch it from behind. So I think you have to be side on or behind, mainly side on, and make sure you're standing on his catching side, because he's so physically strong that if you're on the wrong side, like I know Grode McInerney is probably one of the strongest players in the game, but TJ can just easily hold you off and then catch with the opposite hand. Like.
And how do you see the replay going? Do you think either team needs to change anything?
I think I was actually just reading something today where Kilkenny have a brilliant record in replays. I think they've won 5 of the last 6, and I can see Colin Fennelly probably coming in maybe full forward and maybe putting Walter Walsh at wing forward. And I just think Kilkenny, like people are saying, oh, Galway have so much to improve on. I think Kilkenny are going to improve massively as well. I still think it'd be very hard to keep those Galway forwards quiet again, like the likes of Conor Whelan, Joe Cannon, Conor Cooney. Like to keep them 3 of them quiet in one day is very difficult, and be tough thing to do 2 weeks in a row. So I just think Galway probably still have more firepower and just get scores that bit easier, and I probably see them just edging it.
Yeah, if they play with a bit more variety in their play, like and mix up the long ball, because you look at the scorers that they have, like Joe Canning, Cathal Mannion, Conor Whelan, the Cooneys, Jason Flynn, Niall Burke to come in, who got 4 points the last day. Whereas Kilkenny, from play in this championship in 5 games, TJ Reid has got 7 scores, 2-5. Blanchfield has got 2-2. Wally 1-4. After that, they're struggling for scores, yet they're staying in it.
Yeah, like I think a massive thing is TJ Reid's accuracy from place balls. Like, because he rarely misses or scores 9 out of 10, and Owen Murphy as well. Like Owen Murphy's against us scored 3 points, killer blows from about 100 yards, and because they're getting those scores, it's very hard if you're not taking your chances or converted your frees. It's very hard to pull away from them. And we know if Kilkenny are thereabouts with 5-10 minutes to go, like they have the experience to close out the game.
Yeah, and I think like with all the simple errors that Galway were making, they were actually dropping simple balls coming to them. I remember at one stage Daithí Burke and possibly Grode McInerney bumped into each other. Pádraig Mannion. I just don't think Galway can play as bad again. So I'd be going for Galway as well myself.